Hi there, Sandra here from the Schwowin's Nest. Thank you so much for joining me today. I've got some cute little tiered tray DIYs for you, and I'm starting off just by gluing some blocks together. These are two that I found at the thrift store. I'm just using some hot glue. The second one I'm going to do is just these three tumbling tower blocks that have been glued together already. I'm going to add two more of the tumbling tower blocks on either end so it can stand up. With the tumbling tower little guy here, I'm going to use some of my burnt umber acrylic paint and I'm watering it down to create a stain. I'm just going to cover it all and then wipe off any excess and then repeat the process if I want it a little bit darker. For the other little set of blocks, I'm going to paint them white. I was finally able to get my hands on some of the Dollar Tree calendars. They are very scarce here at our Dollar Trees, and I was very lucky. A friend of mine decided to put some on hold, and she included me in her bunch. So I've got this farmer's market one here that I'm cutting out two of the fall seasonal designs from the back page, and I've also got the Farm Fresh, which I will do the same thing. When I'm making signs for my tiered trays, I like to have something on the front and the back because a lot of times you don't necessarily put your tiered trays against a wall. They're round and you can usually see them from all sides. So I'm just going to use my glue stick and I'm going to glue one of the farmer's market ones on the front of this one, and then I'm going to do the Farm Fresh on the back, and the same with the other sign. Then I'm just going to add some little accents like a little bit of raffia, a twine bow or two, maybe some acorns, and some little brown pipberries. I think these two little guys turned out super cute. I love the Dollar Tree calendars, and you're going to see more of me working with those in the future. But for now, let's take a look at how these two turned out. For my next project, I'm using this little wooden barrel. I picked this up at a local dollar store, and I'm going to be heading back there because they had a ton of sweet little wooden cutouts. And I'm going to do the same staining technique using my burnt umber acrylic paint and water and give this a really nice dark brown look. Using a paintbrush that still has some black paint on it, I'm just going to do some distressing around the edges, the top and the bottom, and then draw some little lines just where all of those grooves are, just to accentuate them and give it a little bit of a distressed look. I stuffed the barrel with some paper towels so I wouldn't have to put too much moss in. And now I am just going to glue some of the Dollar Tree's Spanish moss on top. And then I'm going to glue on a cute little pumpkin. I glued on some ticking stripe ribbon into the center of the barrel, and now I'm going once around with some Dollar Tree twine just to give it more of a rustic look. I took a little scrap piece of twine, glued it around the pumpkin stem, and then just unraveled it to make it look like the little wispy curly cues of a pumpkin. Again, super easy and super cute. When I'm out shopping at dollar stores and thrift stores, I'm always on the lookout for cute little figurines, and I found this cute little chunky owl. I don't like his coloring though. He's kind of green. I did pick up a green one and a brown one. The brown one I'm going to leave as is, but this green one's going to get a couple coats of white chalk paint. Now that he's dry, I'm just taking some sandpaper and I'm going to carefully sand off any of the paint where I want it to look distressed. So I'm going to go around his ears, around his feathers, his eyes, his nose, just wherever I think it would be roughed up or the paint would chip off just from natural wear and tear. Such a simple and easy thing to do to get a high-end look from a dollar store figurine. For this next project, I apologize in advance to anyone who gets offended if I'm tearing a book apart. But this one had definitely seen better days and it had gone through many, many readings. So it was time for a makeover. I just took my box cutter and I cut it in half down the spine. And now I'm just going to clean up all of the edges. Next, I'm going to cut the book in half this way so I have two smaller spines. I'm very carefully just pushing my box cutter down all the way to the bottom. I'm going to have to make probably 7 or 8 passes to make sure that I get through all of the paper. Using scissors this time, I'm just going to cut the book apart so I have a tiny little book. I'm going to do this 2 more times and then I'll have 3 tiny little books to create a book stack. To decorate this little book stack, I cut a piece of burlap ribbon down about 1 inch and I glued that all the way around. And now I'm adding a piece of the ticking stripe ribbon, which is sort of a khaki color. That's the color of the stripe. I really love this type of ribbon. You can see here that I did attempt to write some words on this and it was Happy Harvest, but I spelled harvest wrong again. I have no idea what's going on with me and the word harvest, but I can't seem to spell it right the first time. So to cover that up, I'm just taking some of this Dollar Tree napkin that has some pumpkins and sunflowers, and I'm going to go ahead and use some Mod Podge and glue it right on top. I've got that all completed and now I'm just going to embellish the top of the book stack a little bit more. I've got some cut up pieces of raffia that I just kind of scattered around the one side. I'm adding one of these beautiful Sola wood flowers, a few acorns. I've got a leaf here that is just part of a bush. I'm going to cut down a few pieces just to give that flower a few darkened leaves. And then I'll also add some little green sprigs just to give it a pop of color. If you are new to my channel, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I'd love for you to take a moment and hit that subscribe button. It'll really help me out. If you are a return customer, thank you so much for your support. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. When I saw this little mini cloche in the kitchen section of my Dollarama store, I had to grab a couple of them. I think they are absolutely adorable. I want to make this into a real looking cloche, so I'm going to be painting the bottom part and the little knob on the top of the glass white. I'm going to do that a couple of times, and that's just a base coat to prep it for the wood look that I want to give it. I'm starting out with the color Espresso. This is an acrylic paint that I grabbed from the Dollar Tree, and I'm using a dry chip brush. And what I'm going to do is just go over it. The chip brush is going to give it sort of a wood grain look, and this turns out really great. I did learn this technique from Holly over at Hot Humble Pie. If you haven't seen Holly and what she does with her tiered tray DIYs, you've got to go check her out. She is absolutely amazing. Once I've got it completely coated with the espresso, I'm going to let it dry and then go over it with burnt umber. Using 2 shades of brown gives it more of a realistic look, but you could also add in a little bit of black if you wanted a more deeper color. You could also do some gray if you want it to be more weathered like barnwood. So this is another super easy project that turned out super cute. This final project is just a little hay bale. I know you can get the real mini ones at the Dollar Tree and you can get some larger ones, but I wanted something to fit on my tiered tray. So I'm just using a piece of cardboard. I've folded to make a rectangle and I'm just going to hot glue it together. Using a big chunk from the Hawaiian skirt from the Dollar Tree, I'm going to use that as my hay and wrap it around my little box. I'm going to tuck in some of the edges and then put a little bit more on top, give it a little bit of a haircut, add some more for texture, and my little hay bale is ready for some decoration. I'm going to make a messy bow on this little haystack, so I'm going to just dovetail some of the ribbons that I have cut into about 3-inch pieces. I'm using some pieces of burlap, some of this black ticking stripe ribbon, and some buffalo check ribbon. I'm simply going to start gluing them down on top of the hay bale and just crisscross them in a pattern, not really any specific way, but just to make sure that you can see each of the little ribbon strands. I'm going to add a little dollop of Spanish moss, and then I'm going to glue on a little mini pumpkin and then add a couple of more little embellishments. And this little hay bale is done. I hope you enjoyed these tiered tray fall DIYs. I think they make a really cute addition to any home decor, and they were so easy to make. If you like this type of content, I would love for you to stick around by hitting that subscribe button. The black arrow will point you in the right direction. Thank you again for watching. I truly appreciate your support. See you in the next one.